I'm excited to present today. I'm actually talking about a topic that I'm very passionate about. I would say that generally I'm very comfortable talking in front of groups of people. Public speaking is something I'm very comfortable with. This topic, though, is something that I'm still a student of. And so bear with me if the presentation isn't as clean and concise as I want it to be, but it's something that I think is super important. And this series here, our goal is every week to bring you all sales tactics that are going to help make you better at what you do, help improve your conversion, help bring clients to the table. We all work really, really hard to get clients to the table. So how can we improve our conversion and how can we improve our quality of life? So I'm going to jump right in. I have no doubt that we're going to fill in. So let me just get my notes. This is a topic that I sort of struggled with a little bit. I was thinking to myself, what can I talk about today that's going to bring value to the team? And I just kept getting the message that, self-talk and mindset is what I'm most passionate about learning right now. And so I want to share that with everybody. So I'm kind of giving you guys an insight on what I'm working on myself. Raise your hand, virtually or in person, if you believe that having a strong mindset and having strong self-talk is critical for success in real estate. Yeah, so pretty much all of us. So I'm going to open with a question. Is being busy a good thing? I'd love for somebody to unmute and tell me their thoughts on whether or not being busy is a good thing or not, and why. And if nobody raises their hands, I'm going to call on people. Arthur, let's go.
Yeah, being busy definitely is a good thing for me personally, because I tend to distract myself and not focus on key things, and as far as work goes, prospecting, this, that, everything, and as far as work goes. So the busier I am, the more I get to focus on my work and see more progress, rather than just for example, play games on my phone or go home and just like watch a movie. I'd rather be busy and work and see better results.
Okay. Laura, I see your hand up. What are your thoughts on being busy, and what does being busy really mean to you?
Being busy, I feel, is a good thing. However, sorry, my baby's in the background too.
It's okay. Hey, life is crazy sometimes.
Yeah. But as long as you're busy with things that are ultimately creating you success and things that are bettering yourself. So if you're busy with the right things.
I love that. I absolutely love that. So everybody has a different opinion of what busy is. And a lot of times busy doesn't necessarily mean productive. When I just said it right now. You said, sorry, my baby's in the background. And I said, we totally get it. Life is crazy sometimes. So I'm telling myself and you and everybody that's watching that life is crazy sometimes, but is life being crazy a good thing or is it a bad thing? And that's what I want to talk about with everyone today. I don't necessarily think being busy means you're being productive. So I don't like to say I'm busy. I like to say I have commitments that I've made, and those are commitments that I'm going to follow through with, right? When somebody says to you, how is everything going? And you're like, oh my God, I'm so busy. There's this physiology that comes along with the way you say things. So if you believe that busy is a good thing and you say it in a positive fashion, then maybe that's fine. That works for you. But if you're saying I'm busy, or, like, for example, one of the things my uncle says every time I see him is, I go, hey, Ara, how are you? And he goes, I'm just trying to keep my head above water. What do you think that's doing to him? He's always just trying to keep his head above water, which means that he's struggling with the commitments that he's made. It sounds like to me that he's so overcommitted that he can barely keep up. And when you can barely keep up, you operate in a different fashion versus saying something like, I've made a lot of commitments and I do have a lot on my plate, but I will find a way to manage all my commitments and get them all done. So that's kind of the theme of today's conversation. So what are some examples of negative self-talk raise your hand and tell me, like, oh, I say this all the time and this may not be serving a purpose for me? Anybody?
It can be as simple as saying, I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough, comparing yourself to other people. And so you're constantly judging how you measure up to others, and that obviously has a big impact on you. I wanted to just kind of add to what you're saying about the busyness aspect of it. A lot of agents wear the busy hat as a badge of honor. But a lot of times, a lot of their busy work is management of a file, right? They work really hard to get a client, they put them into escrow, and then they stop prospecting, and they spend all their focus and energy and time servicing that deal until it closes, because they want to baby it, because they don't want to fall apart, and then they have to start that cycle all over again. So you can be super busy doing paperwork, but that's not money-making activities. That's not going to help pay the bills at the end of the day.
Absolutely. And to add on to that is, if you feel like you're busy, if you feel like you're overwhelmed, that self-talk is going to create a negative energy inside of you, and you're not going to be playing at 100%. So it's a great point, Nazar. Raise your hand if you've ever said something like, gosh, I feel like I should be further along than I am, or I feel like I'm not as good as I could be. Yeah, all of us, right? I mean, there was a period in my life where, from 2001 to 2005, let's just say I wasn't as productive as I could have been. And I think back a lot of times and I say, gosh, I'll see somebody on Instagram that's 30 years old. And I know there are people in here that are younger than that, or I'm 44. So for me, 30 is like crazy young. I'll see them and I'm like, man, they have their crap together. They are so much further ahead than I was at their age. And the reality is, one of my mentors used to always say, I am exactly where I need to be to get to where I want to go, right? So a simple language pattern going from doom and gloom, I'm behind in my life, I'm not where I could be, everyone is more successful than me. You can fall into that victim mindset. And the reality is when you have these types of thoughts, you're not going to be producing at a high level because your energy is off. Versus saying something like, I'm exactly where I need to be to get to exactly where I want to go. You're now finding ways to see the light. You're finding hope in, you're turning a negative situation around. Who here is way too hard on themselves? Yeah, I am. It's okay. I mean, I'm a student of what I'm talking about today. One thing that I've learned is if we make ourselves wrong, then we're never going to get to where we want to go. So our language becomes our reality. Our feelings determine our experience. And the quality of our emotions determines the quality of our life. Does that all make sense? We operate, our brain, we can't control our thoughts. So it's okay to have negative thoughts. And that's normal, right? We have the primitive brain that is designed to protect us. But what we can control is what we say to ourselves. Whether we say it in our head or we say it out loud, that determines how we operate physically, physiologically. So if we're going into an appointment and we believe that we are the best person for the job, versus we're going into this appointment with, I'm a newer agent, or I've never taken a listing, or I haven't practiced my scripts, or I don't want to mess this up. What do you think is the better approach? Which person is going to have a higher chance of getting that listing? Is it the person that goes in with, I'm the best person for the job, I know what I'm doing when it comes to selling real estate, or the other person? Who's going to have a better chance?
So Robert, I think, if I were to, the drunk monkey in my head would say that if I was going on a listing presentation and I knew exactly who I was competing against and I felt were better than me, then how am I showing up to that appointment thinking that I'm better than them? Like, what are the steps you think needs to be taken for us to be able to be in a position where we, even though we in our heads believe that they're better than us, how do we show up?
Well, my personal opinion is everybody's different, right? So what does better even really mean? moving forward? Is that somebody who just has more market share? Is that somebody who, like, I'm a big believer in that I'm not the right fit for everybody. And so for me, it's really knowing confidence is built when there's knowledge and experience around the situation. So here's the deal. Has anybody seen that photo where Michael Phelps is swimming? And then the guy that's like literally a foot behind him is looking, but Michael Phelps is looking at the finish line. You take your eye off the prize, you start to focus about what your competition is doing, you've already lost. So my approach is, hey, there are dozens, hundreds of incredible agents in this area. Some have better social proof than I do. But I don't really care who the seller's interviewing. I don't necessarily care about what they bring to the table. I'm focusing on what I bring to the table. Do I know the neighborhood inside and out? Have I done my research? Do I know which homes have sold, which homes haven't sold, which homes have expired, which homes are active competition? Do I know my marketing plan inside and out? Is my marketing plan of value? Is it going to help the seller achieve what they want? Right? So is the seller going to connect with my personality? I'm focusing on me and how I can serve the seller. I'm not focusing on how I can beat other people, because I believe that once you start focusing on other people, you start to lose sight of who you actually are. That's just my opinion. Now, I don't want to take anything away from the competitive agent that's like, oh, I want to know who I'm going up against. Everybody's different. That's just my approach. So does that answer your question, Nazar? Is there any? So can anybody think of a time where they went into a situation with confidence versus when they went into a situation and lacked confidence, and is willing to maybe share what the outcome was?
So I'll share something with you, Rob.
Thank you.
Growing up, there's 6 kids in my family, 2 boys, 4 girls. I grew up in a rural area in Wyoming. So you can imagine like women being treated differently a bit, but my dad never treated us differently. And he always said, when you walk in a room, you walk in like you own it, to every single one of us. Like you always have that mentality, because if you don't believe in yourself, that person isn't going to believe in yourself. So as a small child, that's what we grew up with. Like, you can do anything, you can walk into the room, you own it. But then there's been times when if I'm like, oh man, I don't know if I can do this, and I doubt myself. And those are the times that I fail. And specifically like going into a listing where I'm not prepared and I don't feel like I'm going to be able to do it. And those are the ones that you don't get. Like, I didn't walk in like I owned it. And that's the difference.
And also just to preface that her dad was a judge. So when he walked in,
my dad was a district court judge.
He did own that room.
He did. But I mean, it was something like where, if we needed to do something needed to be done. Like, the girls did it. He didn't call on my brothers always to go like, hey, come help me fence or help me do this. It was like, hey girls, I need you to do that. Even up until, he passed away recently, he would call us home to help do things. But it was always, you can do it. You own it.
I love that. Not everybody got that. So, I'm thinking about, like, I hear that and I see it on social media, like parents are being positive with their kids. I never got that. I never got that you could do anything you want. I never had that. And so one thing is like, my wife is a health coach, and she always talks about everybody wants change right away. So as we talk about this topic, what I want everyone to understand is most people have this negative conditioning that they've grown up with. Someone somewhere told you you're not enough. Somebody told you in 3rd grade that you are not athletic, and you kept that for, so like however old you are, these conditionings, this mindset has been with us for a decade, 2 decades, maybe 3 or 4 decades. So we can't expect to turn everything around in a week, a month, or a year. This is lifelong learning. But I'm going to go into a little bit more about how we can start making changes as we move forward. Mike, you had your hand up.
Yeah, actually, since you're talking about confidence, what I noticed is the days that I do my morning routine where, I read my affirmations, I exercise, I meditate, those days I'm unstoppable. But the days I don't, everything falls apart. So I do a lot of affirmations, especially when I'm going to a listing appointment. Before walking in, I close my eyes for a few minutes. I just self-talk to myself. I believe in myself. I got this. I give myself confidence. And then I put some meditation music, and then I walk in, eager to get the listing. So I just want to share that with the group.
I love it. You like, this is perfect. You're helping me like flow with my presentation. The bottom line is you've got to change your narrative, right? A lot of us have a negative narrative, and the way we talk to ourselves, we don't realize that we're just beating ourselves into the ground. We just think it's normal, right? So for example, let's talk about the word hard. Nobody likes to do hard stuff, but you know what a lot of people do like? They like a challenge. So it's a simple shift in, instead of saying, gosh, this is so hard, this is challenging. But challenging seems a lot easier to overcome than something that's hard. So you can start to now piece together what I'm talking about. And I don't want you all to watch this training today and then leave and say, oh, I feel better today. This is an ongoing practice where I want everyone to be intentional with the words they're saying to themselves, in their head, out loud, and even to other people. Start to notice how other people talk. Start to hear what people say, and you're like, oh my gosh, like, no wonder they're stuck where they're stuck, because they continue to affirm that is their reality, and they're not willing to change their narrative. I'm a big believer in that everything is a choice. Everything is a choice. No matter how bad things get, you can choose to respond the way you want to respond. And so the self-talk is no different. So can everybody start to see now that small changes in self-talk can create massive change in your life and your business just by changing a few words here and there? Like, for example, you won't ever hear me purposely say the word HATE. I don't like that word. It's a very strong word, and I don't like saying it, right? So maybe I don't like something, and maybe I'll avoid certain things. But the most powerful emotion, does anybody know the most powerful emotion? Take a guess.
Love and fear. Those two, in my opinion.
Yeah, love is the most powerful emotion. I learned that a couple weeks ago. So what's the exact opposite of love? I don't want that. I want love, right? So I come from a place of love and light, and everything in my life, I'm designing it to create the physiology around that. So does anybody have any questions up to this point? Anybody have any comments, hallucinations that they want to share? Okay. So what I want to do is give you all some action steps on how to create this change over time. And again, I just want to remind everyone that it doesn't happen all at once, right? I brought my wife up as a health coach. A lot of people that she worked with have had a very horrible diet and lifestyle for 20 years. And then they're like, I've got a wedding in 60 days and I need to lose 25 pounds in 30 days to fit into this. And it's like, you can't reverse 2 decades of destroying your body in 30 days and actually expect it to be lasting change. It'll take you 3, 4, 5 years to change 20 years. So that's how it is here. We're always going to be on this journey. So number one is give yourself grace. It's taken you decades of conditioning to be negative. So it's not going to be fixed in 1 week, 1 month, or even 1 year. Give yourself grace. Find ways to focus on the good that you've done.
I want to add to that, going back to what you were saying before. Yeah, saying positive talk is like, I don't know if you guys have had this analogy before. If you like get a twig or like a small thin branch, you can like snap it very easily. But if you get like 10 of them, it's a little bit harder to break. If you get 100 of those branches, then it's extremely hard to break, right? And so each one of those branches represents self-talk, either negative or positive. And so you've created this massive tree trunk with negative self-talk. That's hard to break. But yet to overcome that is by putting positive affirmations into your brain. And so that if you get your positive affirmations on whatever topic you're talking about increases more than your negative talk, then that's when that becomes strong and powerful, and that becomes your, how you think and feel on the inside through and through.
I love it. I love it. And that that is, it's so important. We have to fill our brains with positive talk. Otherwise, it's going to by default be filled with negativity. The average person.
Robert, do you mind sharing how many years we spent as accountability partners when it comes to our positive affirmations?
I'm going to go with at least 5.
Like,
I want to say it was in 2018. We were in Boston, and actually it was before that, maybe even.
I don't remember. It's been a long time.
5 or 6 years, and we do it today. I sent you my affirmations today, right?
We'd get on a call. We would say the affirmations that we'd already written out for ourselves, and we would say them. And then sometimes Rob would call me out and be like, "That was freaking stupid. You didn't do it strong enough. Or you didn't do it with conviction." Because if you just say words just to say, "I'm strong enough, I'm good enough," like that's not going to work. You have to use your emotion. You have to get fired up when you do those affirmations, because that emotion will cause you to be able to penetrate your conscious mind into your subconscious to where it actually can take in, could actually do the work for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's passive and there's active living. And passive living is you wake up in the morning, you get ready, you go do whatever you do during the day. When you're done, you eat, you maybe watch a little bit of TV, and you keep doing it. That's a passive lifestyle. Most people are just wasting their life. They're just wasting their time. And then there's active living, right? So it's the same thing. It's are you saying your affirmations passively or actively? And if you get into it, you will feel the physiology. If there's no intention behind what you're saying and you don't believe it, and you're like Nazar said, like, it's not going to work at the level that you want it to work. You have to believe the things you're saying and convince your brain that your brain is wrong. So thank you for sharing that. So the second tip here, after giving yourself grace and knowing that it's going to take time and knowing that you're going to fail and you're going to mess up, is letting go of your ego. It's not about being right. It's always about getting better. Things happen slowly over time. Change happens slowly over time. So just understand that this isn't going to be a quick fix. But the more intentionally you are with your words, and the more intentionally you are with listening to other people and how they talk, you're going to start to recognize it. It starts to get very, very obvious. Like there was this one time I was in Europe with my wife. We were walking around, and I don't know, like the American accent is very rigid, right? We're all in America, so we can't tell, but we're in Europe and we're walking around, and I heard this American guy say something, and I was like, gosh, babe, is that how we sound? And she's like, yeah, it's that bad. It's just so obvious that this person is American. Not talking crap on Americans, but the accent is just so different when you're in Europe. And I hadn't heard anybody speak with an American accent for like 2 weeks. So it was like, it just hit me. That's how blatant it is when I hear people saying things when it comes to negative self-talk. I'm like, man, they're not going to get out of their current situation with that type of language. And so hopefully over time, you start to really hear people saying it. And I'm not saying go around and start correcting people, but just know that you're one step ahead because you have this knowledge, and it's going to be a constant growth opportunity.
Rob,
yes.
Can you, like, I think what would be, as far as like a takeaway practical use of this thing that we're talking about today, is to say, okay, we're in a shifting market. Rates are over 7% right now, right? What is the limiting belief that you have? What is the negative talk that you're telling yourself about this market that we're in? And how is that impacting your actual sales, right? Because if you focus and say rates are high, nobody's buying, there's a crap more sellers out there, no one wants to transact, which, those are the things that I would tell myself back in 2007 and 8. And for a while that kind of hindered me from actually doing work, because I just assumed that nobody was transacting. Well, guess what? They were transacting. The builders were offering like 5% commission to bring a buyer to the table because they were desperate to sell their inventory. And there's agents that were like hustling, getting their buyers, taking them to those properties, making that 5% or whatever they're offering. And their transactions were happening every single day. I just wasn't around to be a part of it. So that's
Yeah.
like one limiting belief aspect of it that I think that, like, how can we change that? What are some other ones?
Well, the way you change it is by changing it, right? So you change the narrative. And that's a great point. And thank you for bringing that up because it's extremely relevant in today's market. So that's what people are saying. If you are telling yourself that no one is buying, or you're telling other people that no one's buying, who here thinks that they're going to sell a lot of homes when they're telling themselves no one is buying? No way. It's impossible. You've already made up your mind. If nobody's buying,
Let's talk about that. Who is buying in today's market? Who is stupid enough, just kidding, to buy in this market today?
I bought.
Yeah, Rob
I
just
closed
bought.
last week. So
He closed us. Oh, but please tell us that story, because when you, Mike and Martin were on the call and you said, yeah, I bought, and then what's your current interest rate that you just bought? What are you paying?
4%. But
4%,
yeah.
guys.
Yeah. So I wouldn't say I got lucky, but the timing was right for me. I started putting this transaction together when the market was in like I would say like the mid fives, high fives. There was a moment where it touched 6, and it was a great market for me because I was able to negotiate, almost $200,000 off the property that I bought, because the market had shifted, and this home, I was just sitting on the market for like 70 days and the sellers were super desperate. And so I was able to find that sweet spot where I was able to get the home I wanted at the price that I wanted, but still be in a position to buy down the interest rates because the sellers offered me a credit to get a 4% interest rate. Now, I know that's not the lowest rate ever because people locked in like 2.5, but I feel like I am a winner because I found a way to make it work. So for me, here's what happened. My wife and I just looked at each other and we decided that we were ready to buy a new home and we wanted to transition. I knew the rates were up, but that didn't matter to me because my motivation was stronger than where the rates were. So it wasn't about, is it a good time to buy? It was, what do I have to do to make it work as a buyer?
And you got creative, right? Like to go from 6% to 4%, you had to do buy down, but you also did a 7-1
I did a 7-1 arm, right? So
Right.
I did a 7-1 arm because I spoke to my lender and I asked him, I said, listen, what is your long-term outlook on these rates? And he's like, well, they're really ugly right now, which, by the way, is not good self-talk. But they're really ugly right now. But my opinion is, as we're full blown in this recession, the rates are going to be pushed down to the high 3s, low 4s in probably 18 to 24 months. So do the 7-1 arm, buy down the rate, live there for a couple of years, and then refinance, when the rates come to a point where it makes sense. Now, look, what if they don't? Well, then they don't, and I'll figure it out then, right? But I'm not trying to plan my entire life around like 100% absolute certainty. So here's my opinion. My opinion is that 90% of the world is going to focus on the recession. They're going to focus on inflation. They're going to focus on high interest rates. They're going to focus on doom and gloom because the world loves to operate around fear. But let me ask you this. Who here thinks that the people that are smart and wealthy and have money and create opportunity are going to make more money in the next 2 years than the last 20 years combined?
Yep.
Yeah. So guess what I get to focus on? I get to focus on the 10%. I get to focus on the fact that, yeah, most people are running away and most people are scared, and there's going to be more opportunity now and in the next 24 months than ever before. So who's with me? And I operate based on that. So I talk to my clients about, look, this isn't an emotional purchase. Yes, I understand there's emotion involved, but if you're focusing on the emotion and you're focused on the doom and gloom, you're always going to find a reason to not transact. But if your motivation is compelling, then let's shift our focus to the math and let's figure out a mathematical equation to help you get what you want. And hey, you may have to suck it up for a year or two with a higher interest rate, unless you want to get creative, negotiate a better price, get a little bit more of a creative financing, buy down the interest rate. All 3 very doable strategies in our current market. So if you can get your clients, first of all, if you can get out of your own head, because if you're in your head, you can't help other people get out of their head. So I always tell my team that we're the rock. If our clients are a head case, we have to be the ones that get them grounded. So we got to get our head right Then we help them get their head right. And then we focus on the math. And that's all it is. And I tell my clients all the time, and I tell my team all the time, let's focus on the math. If it makes sense, let's go for it. If it doesn't make sense, let's find ways for it to make sense if the motivation is high enough, and then let's go for it. But sitting on the sidelines and whining about a crappy market is not going to get you absolutely anywhere. Does that make, and by the way, like the negative self-talk, I mean, think about it, like the news, everybody's saying what you said, those 4 things. Rates are too high, the market's going to crash, nobody's buying homes. Go to your MLS. How many homes sold last month? Probably hundreds. I don't know. How many homes do you want to sell a month? 1, 2, 3, 4? You only want a small piece of the pie. Most people have already given up. The other people have already left and they're on vacation because that's what people do during the holiday season. And you're here to pick up all the pieces. With the right mindset and the right strategy, you can earn more money now in a down market than you can have earned in a hot market 2021, right? The hottest market ever. More people are going to earn and double and triple their net worth in the next 2 years than, and that's not by accident, right? That's not by accident. So I hope you guys are finding value here. I know we're a little bit over time. I just want to throw in a couple more things here in terms of what you can do. Right here, I have here, you're going to mess up a lot. You're going to have negative self-talk. It's going to keep happening because that's what we're used to. Catch yourself and give yourself credit on the things that are doing great. Vocalize to yourself the great things in your life. Focus on the good, because it's really hard to be in a negative mindset if you're focusing on the good. And that's where the affirmations come in. So I write down 10 things I'm grateful for almost every day. Almost every day. I fall off the wagon every now and then, but almost every day, 10 things I'm grateful for. I give myself credit every time I win. And a win doesn't have to be something amazing. It can be something very little. Like sometimes I'm just grateful that I woke up in the morning. That's a win. You know, like I'm grateful that my lungs work, that I can breathe oxygen and feel good. I'm grateful that when I run, I can run for hours and my body can keep up with it, right? So focus on things that are great in your life, and it's really hard to be in a negative mindset. And the last is exercise. Mike brought it up, right? When I don't exercise, I'm off. I'm very off. Physiologically, the blood flowing, I get in the right mindset. So for me, it's exercise, get in the right mindset, then focus on what I'm grateful for, and then attack the day. And when I say attack the day, I'm constantly aware of the things I'm saying, because I want to make sure that I'm controlling my own narrative. Because if I can't control my own narrative, there's no way I'm going to be in a position to influence people when it comes time for them to make a decision on the biggest purchase of their entire life or the biggest sale of their entire life. So I would love to close this out with maybe just 1 or 2 ahas. If you had some type of breakthrough, or you were watching and you're like, oh my gosh, now that Rob is saying all this stuff, I can see how negative I've been to myself. I can see how hard I've been on myself. I would love for you to share that so that we can create some growth around this conversation. Anybody find any aha moments?
Hey, Rob, I just want to add one thing. I've known you for what, 8 years now?
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of changes in you, brother, and you inspire me. So I just want to congratulate you. Keep up what you're doing.
Thanks, man. Thank you so much. It's a journey, that's for sure. Thank you. Anybody else have anything to say or add?
I just want to, like, again, I'm being pragmatic here. People that need to move versus people that don't need to move. The person that isn't going to move is the person that has a home that they have a 3% interest rate on, and they were going to move up and buy that larger house because now their payments at 7%, right? If you were keeping apples to apples, if they wanted a 30-year loan, and that jump is going to be too much for them. It's going to be too big of a swing, so they're going to stay put. What that's going to do is it's going to cause pressure on inventory levels continue being down instead of going up. Then you have the rates that are there, but then you've got people that need to make a move, right? Job transfers, divorces, like they're just busting at the seams. Someone gets pregnant, they need another bedroom. Like there's so many reasons why people need to move. And so we got to focus as a group here. How do we attract and connect with those people, right? The ones that are just looky-loos and they're like, oh, it'd be kind of cool to do this. That's gonna slow down. But the other ones are gonna be moving forward. Like I'm representing a buyer right now. It's buying a home for 1.3 million, and like they had to move here. It wasn't an option. And even though they were letting go of an amazing interest rate they had, it didn't matter because they were making this transition. They got enough of a pay grade or an upgrade in pay to be able to make it make sense for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rob, my takeaway, going back to your thing, is not beating up on yourself, but it's baby steps. Like we can't change overnight, and to celebrate each little thing. So you have 15 tasks that are due. Okay, I cleared out 5 of them before noon. That's a win because I didn't do that yesterday. So making sure that you're giving yourself, positive affirmations after you're doing those, and realize that it's going to take time.
Yeah.
Another
Yeah.
way of doing it is if you say, if the negative thought that's in your head is that I suck at prospecting. And if you were to then tell yourself, I'm a great prospector, when you're not, you haven't done it yet. So to say, go from, I suck at prospecting to I'm a great prospector is going to be a hard bridge to gap. But you could say, I suck at prospecting today, or I suck at prospecting now. I suck at prospecting now. That's just a small little micro change. You're still saying the negative thing, but you're making it a little bit better, right? Just a little bit better. So whatever it is, whatever that negative thing is, just say, it's not a no now, it's not now, right?
Yeah.
So that's how you make that small little leaps into things that you're dead set on that you're bad at.
Yeah, it's as long as there's a door to success, right? I mean, if you say I suck at prospecting, then there's no hope for you when you prospect because you've already made up your mind. So when you've made up your mind, your body will follow, your words will follow. Versus if you acknowledge the fact that you need help prospecting, you need to study the scripts to get better at prospecting, or you need to improve your skills to improve your conversion, at least you're giving yourself the roadmap for growth, and you're giving yourself permission to suck, because guess what? Everybody sucks when they start something new. And if you don't practice certain things with intention, then you're never going to get better. We, as human beings, our brains were designed to succeed. But if you don't practice and you don't apply these skills and actively participate, then you're not going to be able to achieve the level of success that you want to achieve. So it's really, again, it's going back to having grace and saying like, yeah, I'm not great at this, but I know I could be with the right actions, and I'm going to do it with an open mind. And it might be tough and I might get yelled at, but I know that with consistent effort, I will find success. And you're not telling yourself you're amazing at it. You're not lying to yourself, but you're giving yourself the opportunity to succeed. And I think that's a great start.
Just to add a quick little story, if you guys need to go, you can bounce. But so most of you guys know, or if you don't know, I'm addicted to pickleball. It's a passion of mine. And I've been playing for the last 3 years, but I got to the point where I plateaued. I couldn't get better. And so the thought in my head, or the limiting belief that I had, was that I suck at certain things of pickleball. I suck at certain things. Like I couldn't do a third drop or a third shot drop into the net, or right on the other side of the kitchen. And it was hard for me because based on that, I would do anything I could to avoid doing that drop shot. And it totally screwed my game. It made it to where I couldn't progress. So I hired a coach and I started drilling. And what I realized is that when I'm able to do that same exact shot over and over and over and over and over again, guess what? I started getting better. And in a course of a very short period of time, I've gotten a heck of a lot better to where now when I'm actually playing a game, I have no problem doing that shot. So, it could be your for sale by owner scripts. It could be your prospecting, circle prospecting, knocking on doors, expireds, whatever it is that you're going after, you're going to suck it, or at first you're not going to be good at it. But the more you do, the more you break through that, then you're going to get to the point where you become the expert in doing that.
Absolutely. Well, I hope you guys found some value in today's message. And I would love to hear some success stories. If you start to notice people with negative self-talk and it becomes very apparent, like send me a message and be like, oh my gosh, you really opened my eyes up to that. Or if you find ways to overcome your self-talk, let me know, because this is the psychology behind sales is one thing, but the psychology behind life is another thing. This isn't just sales training. I mean, Nazar just gave you a pickleball example, right? That's a personal passion of his. So, you know, this works with in relationships, in life, in business. What we say to ourselves ultimately become our reality. We have the choice to live the life we want, and we also have the choice to be a victim and have a victim mindset. It's really up to what you want. So thank you guys so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.